You're listening to the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Podcast, the podcast that keeps your practice sharp and your clients happy. I'm your host, Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi, and every week we're bringing you insights, tips, and real-world conversations with top immigration attorneys and industry leaders. Whether you're here to grow your practice, stay on top of the latest trends, or get inspired, you're in the right place. Ready? Let's go. Hello, fellow Toolboxers. Welcome to episode number 431 of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Podcast. We're doing our regular top 10 episode, going over 10 things I learned last week in the immigration space that I thought would be interesting for y'all to hear about, to give my thoughts on it, but just to hear about primarily, so you're on the radar. What's going on? Before we start, what was there to talk about? A lot of stuff's happening. End of the year is happening. Make sure to check your numbers, check your balances, and try to finish out the year strong. If you're interested in getting published and getting more notoriety and marketing for your firm and yourself, shoot an article to us, article idea at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com for the magazine, the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine. Issue number 10 is out. We're working on issue number 11. We'd love to have great content on anywhere in the immigration space. It's really niche down topic. It's very specific, and it's for other colleagues to read. But it comes up in SEO for Google. It comes up in ChatGPT, AI kind of stuff. And it really helps the community by sharing the information knowledge that you have to show your expertise. And that's what we're here to do, to help make the immigration community stronger and better. So please get that started. And along with helping the community, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, eImmigration by Serenade. Shopping for immigration law software, don't let shiny demos cloud your judgment. Before you choose a platform, ask the questions that really matter about security, support, and the fine print. eImmigration's free checklist, 25 questions to ask before choosing immigration law software, gives you the exact prompts to cut through sales spin and get real answers. Save yourself time, headaches, and buyer's remorse. Find it at offers.immigration.com/vendor-QA, courtesy of Immigration. eImmigration, that's offers.immigration.com/vendors-QA. And the link will be in the show notes so you can get that. Give it an idea of what's going on with these softwares, because there's so much going on, so many people to study and know, but they're doing a great job. They're just improving. I did a one-on-one with the general manager, just a couple of previous steps ago. Definitely worth listening to, whether you have the software or you're going to get it, because it just goes over the updates they have, and you hear it right from them, what's going on, so you have an understanding of which direction they're going. A family-owned business, which is different than a lot of other softwares right now. So it's something to look out for. So having said that, none of the information provided here is intended as individual legal guidance. Please consult with an immigration attorney about your case, but y'all know that already. Let's get it started. Okay, tip number one of the top 10 tips we're doing today is one I missed that happened earlier, but apparently it was a proclamation or a press statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio that they're putting visa restrictions on Central American nationals working with the CCP to undermine the rule of law in Central America. That's what the title that they had. They're going to be going to creating travel bans. People that are kind of working in Central America. A lot of time it's with Chinese companies. It was a whole Panama issue of cutting them out from developing in the Western Hemisphere. And I didn't notice that was September 4th that came out, but there was a tweet that got momentum from China's Foreign Ministry calling out this. And on Twitter, they said the U.S. announced visa restrictions on Central American nationals and their families under the pretext of working with China to undermine the rule of law in Central America. In response to the steps taken by the U.S., MFA spokesman stated, China has lodged serious protests with the U.S. The measure is politically motivated in an act of economic coercion. The U.S. is once again putting domestic law above international law in its international obligations. This is yet another example of U.S. bullyism. Weaponizing visas will not intimidate those supporting the right cause, nor will hold back the flourishing ties between China and Central America countries. So that's the administration creating big international upheavals over things they could have just done quietly or just figured out and stuff. But it's just what they do. So heads up, if you have random clients that are Central Americans, just kind of that work in these kind of fields, that's something that may pop up. Tip number two is about an article I saw pop up on Newsweek. And Newsweek, I like Time Magazine. I don't consider it a reputable, never has been a reputable organization. There are a lot of like U.S. propaganda tools for the CIA. But and that's helpful in the sense that when you see them pushing a topic or a narrative, you know that it's institutionally pushed and stuff like that. So all of a sudden, Newsweek had this article about the EB-5 program saying visa power, how China is buying its way into America's heartland, and really saying like this EB-5 program is a shady program where Chinese people are Communist parties trying to take over America. And it talks about this project in Arkansas, one of the poorest states in the U.S., according to the article. is a surprising set of investors. Chinese investors are securing residency through this path by investing there and creating programs. And so, in making it like sound like it's like this secret program that no one knows about, or that no one knows what's happening. Whereas if you are an EB5 practitioner, you know the I-526 and the source of funds craziness, the long 10-year wait times nowadays to get the EB5 approved, along with removal conditions. That gives ample time for the US to do every kind of background check and personal background check that is needed. Keep in mind, they need to do removal conditions, potentially an interview. If they're in the US, there's adjustment status interviews at the embassy. There's constant processing interviews, police certificates, huge background checks. So it's really just stupid for them to fearmonger this. And there's a part here that says this quote: "The fundamental question that needs to be asked is, would this transaction allow or facilitate the influence of an adversary state or adversary actor to detriment of the United States, both from the economic health, sustainability, resilience, as well as national security of the United States?" That's a quote. So let's analyze the quote first and then go to the next part. Like these investments, regional centers are, fully vetted by the government. USCIS, DHS could just run in there and see what's going on. And then most of the people that are doing this program EB5 are just like rich people there who have like the whole system for EB5 that they have created for them to get their money in. So it's just like the stupidest thing you could quote. But then who quoted it? Said a U.S. official with knowledge of the situation who was granted anonymity to speak as they were not permitted to discuss this issue publicly. And they're saying the answer is yes, it's having all the problems. So the government is putting out somewhere, not giving them permission to talk, but anonymity. So that you see how shifty those things are. So that's this crazy article. Is just this garbage on Newsweek. And then like there was another thing that came out October 2023, essentially a week ago, where DHS updated the filing fees for the immigration program, making it less expensive to do the EB5 program, lowering the regional center fees. So at one end, they're doing anonymity, bashing the program. On the other end, they're like, oh, these fees are too high. Let's lower them. And so it just goes to the insanity of the immigration system. There's different ways you could take that. But that's just was an interesting thing I saw reading the news. I'm like, okay, it's just garbage left and right. So moving from that garbage to another some more garbage in the immigration space. Our colleague, if you don't follow him on, he's gonna be on the show soon, but Jath Shao, he's great on LinkedIn. And he posted, and I didn't realize this, that you could now file the I-751 removal of conditions online for better or worse for his quote, which is really better for worse. So I didn't know that. So I went to my my.uscis.gov account. This online filing has been a game changer for us because it saves so much time on printing and preparing print packages and mailing them out. There's a postage fee you save, look at whatever, $50, whatever. But the package printing, preparation, organizing this stuff takes a chunk of time. And as y'all know, my practice, I'm moving fully digital. If I'm already. So the more digital it is, the less I have to go to a post office and mail something out or print and mail something out. The easier it's going to be for me to move to Mexico or Costa Rica and practice immigration law. So it's really exciting. But when I went to my.uscis.gov and looked at the I-751 form, they have it where you have to upload a PDF. And I tried doing that with an EAD case once, and it just didn't work. So I was like, it's not fully there yet, but it seems like they go in the right direction, hopefully, where we could do these online. So we have like I-130s and 400s. If they add I-751s, the big ticket is adding adjustment of status, I-485. If that happens, that's the bulk of my cases. Everything that rarely mail anything else out. So that'll really be perfect. Now with the medical checkups, I-693s, we have to bring in with the problem with the I-485 is, yeah, the medical checkup. But I have the clients probably mail it to the government somehow. But it's almost solvable. I have team members here I could do it, but it's almost solvable where you can go fully remote and not have to mail anything to the government. There are firms practicing overseas. They have like postal people in the US that do that. But I really like having our lawyers in our firm like print and hand it, review it. Because when you have the final print and you read it, you always catch stuff and then kind of have them give it to the post office for extra paranoia of things getting lost on our end. So I like, but yeah, that's a cool thing that happened. And maybe we get a shot and see how it works out. Problem with the I-751 is they have the 90-day filing window. If some errors happen or it's not working out, it could be like annoying, but most likely it'll work out. So tip number 4, new EOIR judges are announced. EOIR announces 11 immigration judges and 25 temporary immigration judges. The list is out. I'll put the link in the show notes for the PDF the government put out. A lot of them, I think almost all of them are military people starting immigration court. So we'll see how that works. I don't do removal defense, and because it's too stressful, and I can only imagine it's going to get worse. Tip number 5: they updated the Foreign Affairs Manual on the subject of B1s who are coming for sports. And breaking down if it's prize money is happening here, we need to show a connection to regular income abroad. It's going to be harder for some jobs where, with a lot of sports, you don't make money at all, but you come to, do some sort of event and that's one-off prize money you get. Those will be harder for them to get these visas. And they're broadening the tryout requirements, so more people can come for tryouts. But I found this on AILA, and so it's really good to check out their AILA doc number 251-002-202. I'll say it again, 200, okay, 251-02202 for details on this FAM update section 402.2 on the FAM. Definitely something to look into. I'll take a quick break right now and move into a reminder of our community page on circle.so. Check it out. It's one of those pages where we have a lot of videos, training materials, and just a community that's off Facebook and off the other software and private, kind of fenced off place for US lawyers. If you want to register to join, which I do recommend doing strongly, we have almost 400 members going for 1,000. And that's really going to pick up the momentum once that happens. But if you want to join that, just go to our website, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com, click on the community page, and register. It's really having your bar info so we can check if you're a lawyer. We don't want to add non-lawyers to the group for now. It's just lawyers. Maybe I'll have a sub-paralegal page later on, which won't get access to lawyer stuff. I want to avoid the unauthorized practice of immigration law and for us to be able to talk freely without giving disclaimers for everything we say. So that's why I enjoy it the most. Okay, let's get back to the show. Number six, the U.S. is adding photo and biometrics requirements for people leaving the United States, coming in and leaving. And this is going to include green card holders and Canadians, which previously were really exempt. And they don't really have the programs to do this anyways, but that's coming up. As you've seen, if you go to the airport with TSA, they're taking your picture. Note that you can opt out. You can just say, I don't want my picture taken for what it's worth. But that's possible to do. So be prepared for that happening and tell your clients. Tip number seven, is a post. I've been posting this a lot of places. Our colleague Carla Casas posted on LinkedIn that she had a client who just got their I-601A approved and with no criminal issues, all this kind of stuff. And ICE came and picked them up and detained them, and they're going to immigration court. So there's no safe period in these cases, and it kind of makes it questionable whether you're going to file an I-601A at this point. Now, if you have an I-130 already approved and you were going, you might as well. But I-601As are really troublesome. We just got one approved. We don't typically do I-618s. We had one existing client that we're doing other stuff on, and we got it approved. And one of our colleagues helped. I don't do I-618s myself, but it's we really want to rush to get that constant processing started at this point to get them out, get the green card, come back in because the government's annoying. Now, I mean, yes, they can leave early and go there. I originally thought you can't leave if you have an I-618 until it's approved, but you can leave early and just wait it out to be safe. Because if they get NTA'd and they go to immigration court, you got to close that case up before you go. It's a big hassle. But just prepare for this stuff. Anything goes nowadays. Tip number eight is about the DOS wait time. So the DOS created a website. If you type in Google DOS IV tools, usually the first one that comes up. And it gives estimated immigrant visa scheduling times after being documentary qualified. It's not the actual interview, but it's when you get the notification of the interview. Interview's usually like 4 to 6 or 8 weeks after that. But we had one where in Armenia, it lists that it's taking like a year or 2 years to get an interview, which is pretty typical what we've seen in Iranian cases. We don't typically have Armenian clients. We have Iranians who go to Armenia because Iran doesn't have a U.S. embassy there. And they're, again, waiting 1 to 2 years. So we had the Armenian client and we told them, listen, wait, it's going to take over a year. And then like 30 days later from being document qualified, they got the interview scheduled. So I was like, okay, there are differentiating between Iranians and Armenians in this. And the timeline, although I've seen it be generally correct on the DOS wait time site, it's not a bad, the IV tool isn't too bad, but on this case, it was completely off. So they're differentiating that I want to share with you if you're giving advice to clients. Number nine was about Brego Garcia, the saga of this individual who's been accused of being a gang member and being sent to Ecuador in that maximum, detention facility, prison, was sent back. And Trump administration is like, we're going to send this guy to Liberia. Apparently, there were negotiations where they said if you pled guilty, we'll send you to Costa Rica, which is nicer, instead of Liberia. But they said no. But the Trump administration came back and said, no, we're going to follow the Maryland federal court ruling after this and not do that. It was another Newsweek article saying they're going to be deported. But then Trump administration came and said, for now, on Monday, said, no, we'll honor the Maryland federal court. We'll see how much honor there is. But that's that. And tip number 10, it's just important for practitioners. We got a FOIA, a USCIS FOIA for a client. And one is almost always redacted. So it's crazy that they're not giving information. But there are several pages that weren't. I would say like 10% was not redacted. And of those, we saw a bunch of DS-160s in there. So USCIS is really incorporating review of the DS-160 for previous, non-immigrant visas. That's why it's so important for clients to and be aware for your clients. If they're here doing adjustment of status, change of status, you have to push in. What did you say in the DS-160? Be very familiar with the questions in the DS-160 to ask them, because whether you're doing DS-160, 260, adjustment of status, change of status, each one of them have different nuances with regard to how certain questions are asked about, prior violations, about overstays, about, arrest histories. They all word it differently. Some have any interactions with police, some have like convictions, or they're just nuanced. So you got to read all of them. You prepare for how it is, especially DS-160, which sometimes can change depending on what country the national is from and what information they give. And every year or two, these forms change. So getting a FOIA for everything could take a long time. This one actually took around 45 days. Not too bad. It's gotten faster USCIS. Sometimes even faster than that. But as you prepared, if you're doing adjustment cases, hey, client, what address did you write DS-160? What work history did you write? Especially I've seen for employment-based cases where in the like the perm case or something, or the EB1, NIW, they're saying, this work history. And then they come back and they say, well, the DS-160 didn't list any of this work history. So what's the deal? This doesn't match, and that could be potentially misrep. It doesn't happen too often, but I've seen it happen. It does come up. So you want to be really careful and push people on this. And so if you're interested in this kind of information, you'd like to listen to this podcast, join our Circle.so page. There's a discussion where I share a lot of information. We have videos, training sessions, and the like. Just go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/community, or not /community. Just go to community tab. The /community doesn't work. But go to our website, check it out. We have the Toolbox magazine there, links to the podcast, a bunch of information. And connect with me, info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com is the email. Let me know what you listen, that you like, what you don't like. I'm really interested in making this podcast bigger. As you've seen since June, since the AILA conference, I've been put out a ton of content. And so I'm really interested in growing the system and the network that exists. So really connect with me on LinkedIn and stuff. If it takes a while for me to email, I apologize, but I'm listening and I'm into it. I just get overwhelmed. All right. Until next one, God bless. Be safe. Have a good one. If you like this episode, follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, where we post the latest statistics, tips, and more. And stay tuned for more from the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox podcast.